Hey legends, welcome back to another Excel tutorial. Today I'm going to take you through 3 simple tools that I've used throughout my careers in private equity and finance that are really going to help improve your productivity and understand what's going on in some of the spreadsheets that you might be looking at when you start out in your own career. So the first one is SumIF. So let's jump into the spreadsheet and learn all about SumIF and SumIFS. I've created a table which has a whole bunch of sales data given a category and also a region. Now this could be, say, a store in the north and you want to look at how books are performing in that store. The SumIF statement and the SumIFS statements are going to be really useful for this, so let's jump into it. The formula itself is simply equals SumIF open brackets, and you'll be given some options here. So you've got range, criteria, and SumRange. So the range we want to select for this is the region, and the criteria is simply whatever we type in that box there. In this case, it's East, and obviously the sales is the series that we're trying to sum. And you'll see here, I can now change this from East to South, and it'll update the sales sum for me, which is really useful. Let's try this with the categories just to reinforce that learning. So we're going to select the range with the book category, and the criteria is obviously book, and then we're going to sum the sales if the category matches whatever's in that box there. So in this case, we can see kettle sales versus book sales. Now the next way is to combine these two, and in order to do that, we're going to use the SumIF and then add a little s on the end. So SumIFS. Open bracket here. So this time it's a little bit different. You start with the sum range, which is obviously sales again. Then we're going to add the criteria range. In this case, that's going to be the region. And then the criteria is still that north cell. And then we're also going to do the second category, or criteria, which is the category. In this case, we have books. So you can see here that in the north, the books are 15,760. In the west, kettles are obviously a little bit smaller. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is making custom lists. Now, custom lists are really important in any job role because they help provide clarity and understanding to what's going on in the spreadsheets. So we're going to jump back into my spreadsheet here, and just a quick update. You can see how if I update these cells with words, it updates my SumIF formula. Now if I spell kettle wrong, you can see it doesn't return any result, and we don't want this. So what we're going to do is go over to data validation and select list. Now I'm on a Mac, of course, so it might look a little bit different. And all we're going to do is we're going to select the regions here, which are on a separate sheet. Now you'll see that it's created a little drop down box, but I'll do it again for category. So just going in here and selecting list, and then the source, of course, over on sheet 2. I've already made these. Just going to highlight those 2 cells there, book and kettle. This will mean no one can misspell kettle and return a nil result. Now you'll see here, I've got a lovely little list, and no one can break my SumIF formula any longer. How great, that is wonderful. Now you may have noticed when I was making this, that in the drop down box, it was actually returning an equals a defined name in the data validation code. That's because I've already been in here and I've highlighted these cells and selected define name. Now in here, you can actually give these 4 items a name. So in this case, let's call it demo. I was going to call it test, but I changed my mind. Let's call it demo. And now you can see here, if I go into data validation, I can equals demo, and it'll give me the same result. It doesn't necessarily give you that array, you know, the A2 to A6 kind of thing that you may be used to. This is really useful when you're building more complicated financial spreadsheets or working in the private equity field, where you're going to have multiple functions going on and you want to be able to go through and validate all those functions. It also means it's harder and harder for people to break, which of course is very important when more and more people get involved in difficult financial modeling. So this is kind of just something I've adopted. It might be a bit overkill, but you know, it's how I like to do things. And the last little trick I want to teach you today is custom formatting. So using the same set of data, let's jump into the spreadsheet and learn a little bit about that. So what we want to do is when you select a region, say West, I want it to highlight all the West regions in the data below. So what I'm going to do is start by selecting this whole series, so the whole range of data here from item number right through to sales. And then I'm going to go up to the conditional formatting button up here and create a new rule. Now there's a few drop down menus here. It could look different on your computer because I'm on a Mac, as I always say, but what we're looking for is the classic selection or some other variation of that. And it's basically going to have a selection in here somewhere that has use a formula to determine which cells to format. Once you find that, we're going to simply click in here and select the region, which is the one I want to change when I select the region at the top. This will become a bit more intuitive as we move on. So just use the J key perhaps to jump back. So we're selecting the region because that's what I want to highlight when I change it in my kind of lookup cell. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to say equals this cell up here. Now I'm going to delete the dollar sign here, which is what locks that to a certain cell in a range. So get rid of that dollar sign. That's going to let it move through that whole selection and find any of the West values and then highlight that whole row. So here it goes. We're going to hit OK, and look at that. Because West is the region, it's made that red, which is lovely to see. Now we're going to change that to North, and as you can see, that's highlighted all the North. Well, that's it for today's tutorial. I hope that's been useful. If you did get something out of this content, make sure you hit like, subscribe, or drop a comment below. Even if you have a specific question, something you want me to unpack a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail, just drop a comment below. I'll be obliged to try and help out where I can. Anyway, that is all for me today. I do have some other videos if you want to check them out. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.